It's kind of crazy, this is 3 hours condensed down to 3 minutes. So, I've been doing art for basically my whole life, and I've never actually really done studies before, because I'm really lazy in the sense of I learn whilst I'm doing something, and I don't really spend the time to actually get the knowledge beforehand. What is a bit of a hindrance, but like how I sort of create, especially for all my personal projects, is I go very much with the flow. I very rarely plan things out. So actually taking the time to practice anatomy the way I have now, to actually build my own sort of like maquette, has been really useful. And if you're curious about what book I used for this, I used Anatomy for the Sculptors. By far, one of the best reference materials for anatomy you can ever get. I stand by that 10 toes down. If you want to look into it, like I have a few videos on it, definitely check them out. So part of the reason I decided to do this is because I was thinking about how whenever I draw, I'm able to hide behind having weak anatomy a lot easier than whenever I sculpt. That's because like when you're seeing something in a 3D sense, you're able to like pick up what's wrong a lot easier than what you can on 2D, because 2D you can sort of like more claim it's a stylistic thing. What I do also think is an interesting thing within itself, because I've noticed, especially within younger artists and like people who are starting out a lot more, they have this habit of claiming like their wrong anatomy is more of a stylistic choice instead of like just messing up. Well, hey, I get it, like you don't want to admit you're being wrong, and when you're being wrong, yeah, that's fair enough. But that actually does lead to like let's say a better point of there's a very big difference between knowing a rule and breaking it, and just not knowing a rule. And when you're not actually practicing it, let's say you're sort of more participating in the I do not know this rule, hence why I'm always breaking it in the wrong sort of ways. Like, I'm not saying this in a way like, oh yeah, there's a very clear and strict way to be doing art, but there is a very particular way of how you can be presenting art in a particular style to show an audience a certain thing. And that's a very important thing for basically anyone who's doing any form of visual storytelling to understand. Like, you're able to have whatever style you want, but it has to be grounded in some basis for it all to make sense in your head. Because a lot of people have this bad habit of thinking that they're smarter than the audience themselves. Like, even right now, for me talking about this, like, I am talking down to you guys to some extent, not even really deliberately, just from like coming from a place of, okay, I think I know this fairly well, and I know it well enough to be telling everyone about it. And this is also coming from a place of like, I am very aware I am also missing like some crucial elements for certain things, like say even doing some things in a stylistic way I'm not great at, like say hair for example. I'm currently messing up that pretty severely. Yeah, but at the same time, I am aware enough of shortcomings, and that is by far one of the most important like tools in your arsenal for self-improvement. Being able to look at what you're doing wrong and being like trying to retroactively improve on that. Like, at the end of the day, if you aren't willing to practice something, like, you're really doing more harm to yourself than good. So yeah, if you like this and want to see more, let me know. Bye.